Hey YouTube, it's your beekeeper here, dragged home another project. Are you ready? Look at that. Like that was some big reveal. You're going to see the title of this video and know exactly what's going on. This is a 1994 Suzuki DR650, air-cooled, single cylinder, single carburetor, single exhaust, no computers, just a coil, and awesomeness, all in one package. Dual sport, you might say. Beekeeper, I thought you were a Harley guy. Well, I am a Harley guy currently. I was put on my first two-wheeled vehicle at probably, I think it's about 9 years old, up on a cattle ranch that my uncle owned. And the rules then, the same rules there now. If you can get them started, if you can get them running, you can ride them. So I guarantee my brother and I would sit there and mess with these old beat-up ranch bikes. And they were all late 70s Yamaha dual sports, like 360s, Suzukis. There was a 185 big orange beast. There were some smaller 100s, 125s over the years. But look at this thing, 94. This is probably, okay, and we're talking in my price range, right? Because I don't like paying a lot of money for anything that is just a fun toy. I always like leaving margins. So when it's time to sell something, I'm not in over my head. I've had dual sports in the past. Oh wait, let's back up a little bit. I started on dirt bikes at about 9, dual sports. Not typically like 100% dirt bikes, but somewhere. And got on the street, my first street bike at about 19, and I've been riding ever since. I have 30 some years, 30, 49, like 33 years of riding in. Right now, 32 years, something like that. Yeah, you know, I went through a period of dual sports. I started on street bikes, like leader bikes, big, fast street bikes. And then I toggled into dual sports. And I rode nothing but dual sports. My favorite one that I ever had was a 1989 Honda NX650. Same size engine, single cylinder thumper. And I probably rode that exclusively, not probably, but I rode that pretty much exclusively for about 6 or 7 years. I think I sold it about 12 years ago. Just kind of got out of the dual sport scene. That's really the only bike, I won't say regret selling, but I miss that bike. Because it was just a lot of fun. If you take these for what they are, which are not very good street bikes, not very good dirt bikes, but they're just fun putters, right? You putt around. So Skippy's got a couple dual sports too, and we used to haul them up to, even before the El Rancho property, my uncle lived in that area and he had a ginormous cattle ranch. And we both had dual sports, and we would go up there and go ride the fire roads. And they were a lot of fun. They're okay. Like I said, these hybrid bikes don't really make good bikes in either discipline, because dirt bike riding is a completely different discipline than street bike riding as a rider. Subsequently, the motorcycles themselves are significantly different. The tires, the way the suspension is set up, the way the power band in the engine is set up, the way the gear ratio of sprockets are set up. You know, if you want this to be a good dirt bike, you've got to put super aggressive knobby tires on it, but they can't be more than a 50-50 tire, 50% on-road, 50% off-road, to make it still remain street legal. You still need DOT tires. You can turn these into these motard bikes that people do, and they put, especially these Suzukis, they put GSXR inverted forks, and then they put like street bike tires, and they do this and they do that, but then they fail being what they are, which is a dual sport bike. So I'm going to leave this one exactly as it is. This one is so unmolested. I've been looking, well, I haven't been looking actually for a while. I do miss having a dual sport because they're a lot of fun. They're light, relatively light compared to my big fat Harley. Fairly light bike, decent amount of power for 650 cc's. And I was really looking heavily in 2019, the summer and fall of 2019, but I just didn't want to pay the prices that these things were going for us as an additional vehicle to maintain. You know, they had to be free or near free. I mean, I know that's not realistic, but then in January of 2020, I got in that significant motorcycle accident on my Harley, and that just squelched all passion to look of getting a dual sport. until I stumbled across this. I didn't even know this was for sale. I just was kind of thumbing through Craigslist last week. The guy had posted this. I'm the third owner. I won't tell you how much I paid for it because I'm probably going to flip this bike pretty soon, and you guys don't need to know what my profit margins are, but I bought it. I'm the third owner. The original owner bought this brand new, and ironically, he only lives about 10 miles from this house here, and he bought it brand new, and he rode it around, and this was his around town bike, and he had like 5 other bikes allegedly. This one has 25,219 miles, which is starting to get up there. It's considered a higher mileage for a single cylinder bike. He parked it. This is where it gets fuzzy. So the original owner parked it at some point in time. He's currently 70 years old, and he's kind of thinning his herd. He had like 5 or 6 bikes allegedly in his garage, and it's just kind of, he's keeping 2 that he likes to ride, and the other 3 or 4 are getting blown out, which this was one of them. I don't know how long this has been off the road. The DOT brands on the tires say 2005, so both these tires are really old, and I'm not running with the tires. So the second owner buys it in October of 2021, never having bought he's a mountain biker, he has an M1 allegedly, but never having bought a dual sport. He thought he would be Mr. Mechanic over the fall, winter of 2021, have this going by the spring, like now, of 2022, and you know, get into dual sports. But it sat. He got it home, he bought a battery for it, he went and bought all the tune-up stuff, which is the oil filter, the screen, the O-ring for that cover, the O-ring for the plug. He bought a new spark plug, battery dent, yeah. Set it on the bike, put the bike in the corner of his garage or shop or wherever it was, and never touched it. And his wife was busting his hump because he's apparently got a bunch of projects, and he decided this was just not his passion. He didn't do anything with it. So he sold it as a non-running bike, which is a beautiful negotiator on my part, because it just is, man. I'm buying something sight unseen. But I think I have a pretty decent eye at picking something that's not complete hash. And the fact that this is completely original, these pink and blue decals are so 1994. They're just really awesome. There's a little ding here, as you can see. I'm going to touch that. He's like, oh, you can get paintless dent repair on this? I'm like, not even worried. So I'm going to touch that paint up. Going to rub the black marks out of the paint. This thing needs a bath. Goodness. It's filthy. It's filthy. It's got a broken thing here. The only thing I can figure, Skippy and I were looking at it, there's not a scuff on this side. So I'm assuming that the previous rider would like kick this. Probably would kick it every time you get on and off the bike. I'm assuming he's a little fella. Not that there's anything wrong with being a little fella, but these bikes are typically sprung pretty high for people that are tall. So you get dirt bike-like suspension, because you see the fork tubes have been slid down about 1 3/4 inches. And then the spring in the back, if you can see it, these load nuts here are all the way down to the very last thread. So I'm going to crank this thing back up to its stock height. But homie had it. I got it for about half of what he was asking for, because I was there with a truck, with cash, and with ramps. And I explained to him, hey, I'm buying this sight unseen. Although, like I said, I'd done some pretty investigative diagnostics, I thought. So he agreed. We shook hands. Clean title. It's currently non-operational status. That's the problem with, I can't find out how long it was off-road, because in October of 2021, he went to the DMV, put it in his name, which is awesome. And here in California, they do what's called a non-operational status. So PNO, planned non-operational, which puts it in your name, but puts the registration kind of in a suspended mode. So you don't accrue annual registration charges. You don't accrue any penalties for late fees or anything for not being registered. You can't ride it, of course, but that's all I know. So I've got to go to DMV probably tomorrow, because I need to get this thing put in my name before I get penalized. But it's super clean. These are the original decals. This is probably the cleanest dual sport, unmolested, unrestored, original dual sport. 1994? What did I say? Yeah, 94. So I pushed it in the back of the bike, I push it in the back of the bike, good grief. So I pushed it in the back of the truck, shook the dude's hand, gave him some bills, he gave me the title, and I drove home. I didn't take video, because this happened really quickly. He had posted it like the day I contacted him was the morning. He posted it in the morning, and I called him in the afternoon, and I was there with a truck and ramps and money, no camera. Besides, I don't like filming at other people's houses. That's not really cool. Look at these decals. Oh, these are awesome. The panels are all intact, and it's funky. God, it is 90s funky. This big old tail, this whole thing will unbolt, and I may do that. Everything, that whole black plastic piece, including the hardware inside, the bracketry that holds it on. It's got the original muffler. I'll fire it up here in a minute. Spoiler alert. I got it running before I even had it off the truck. These are funky. It's Suzuki's thing to do square, but look at these things. They are just funky. It's got a tack. Tacks are awesome. So I throw it in the truck. I had a gas can with me because I figured I would try to jump it at the guy's house. I didn't. I coasted it around a bit. I shifted through the gears. So I went by the gas station. I got a couple gallons of fresh fuel, and as soon as I pulled it at the house, I pulled the plug and I cleaned it. I loosened the boot on the carburetor. I slid the carburetor on, pulled the float bowl off, blew everything out, turned the put some fresh, drained. I can speak English. Turned the petcock on, drained all that shellacky, nasty fuel out, and put everything back together. Put a couple gallons of fresh fuel in it. I didn't use his battery because his battery was dry. It's the ones you buy dry, and then the acid is separate. So I had an old bike motorcycle battery here, so I fired it up, and it runs. And I'll show you here in just a second. And then real quick, I did an inventory list. I spent $300 on this thing. Like within about an hour and a half, I dumped $300 into here. I got a set of hand grips, $14.21 on eBay. I'm not a big fan of these waffle pro tapers. I like the full diamond pro taper soft compound black grips. That's what I went with. Those are the ones I run on my Harley, the exact same ones on the Harley. So I'll cut these off and swap those out. I bought new fork boots, $31.66. Everything I got was on eBay because these are hash. So $31 for that. Chain and sprockets. Now this is all stuff I normally change on any bike that I get anyway, right? These are normal wear items. Well, not necessarily hand grips are, I guess. Fork boots, not necessarily, but chain and sprockets. This chain is rusty, and it's not an O-ring chain. I don't go with that. I'm not oiling these chains. So I went with the stock 16 teeth in the front, 42 teeth in the back, and a O-ring chain. That on eBay was $54.96. This is all shipped to my house. I got brake pads front and rear. That was $20.52. And then I bought a set of tires front and rear. The fronts are 90/90/21s and the rears are 130, where in the world is it? 130/90/17s in the back. Those were 188/77. And I'll have this thing roadworthy in a day, maybe a day and a half. I have to drop the tubes anyway. I have to pull the tire, and while the tires, the wheel and tire is off, I'm going to do the brakes. And while I got all that apart, I might as well drop the tubes because I have to do the boots anyway. So I'm going to, it all just makes sense. I'll have it done in no time. I'll take you guys along. Look at this seat, the original seat. Looks like he has some kind of tape or something on there, some kind of schmutz. But I wanted to wait. I apologize for not doing the old cold start thing, but I was so excited, and I didn't have a camera, and I had it running because I wanted to drive it out of the back of the truck, essentially. And I did. But I'll take you along for the rest of the journey. We're going to do a deep clean on it this weekend, maybe this week, but probably not. I got a lot of work going on after work kind of thing. And look at these. See, these cables are super long because they drop the front end 1 3/4 inches. Once I drop those tubes down to where they're supposed to be, I'm going to show you a little trick on these front ends too. It looks like the fork seals are they're just a little wet. So when we pull the tubes out, I'm going to drain them out, put a measured amount of oil in each one, and then put about a cap full of brake fluid in there because that causes rubber to swell, and those seals will be fine. Only because I forgot to buy seals. I've already got parts arriving. I've got fork boots already here, the grips already here. The tires are supposed to be here tomorrow. I don't know when the chains come in here. It doesn't matter. This is really cool. If you can't tell, I'm super excited. These things are fun to pop wheelies on. I mean, you know, allegedly, I don't know anything about that, but I've already gone through, all the light bulbs are all, the ones that were bad have all been replaced. The electrical works, the charging system works. Unreal. Let me set this here. What do I do with the key? Oh man. Oh man, where'd the key? Oh, there it is. Oh, here's something that's kind of cool too. Not necessarily, oops, sorry, put my hand right over the mic. Here's something that's kind of fun too. The original key, Yamaha key, but check this out. So the dash, the tank, I got it, it's easier with two hands, and the same key, and this is unheard of on a bike this old, operates the helmet lock. Oh yeah, for this I'm not even going to buy a new turn signal. I'm just going to sand this down, spray it black, walk away from it. Same key, original key. Who does that? Who keeps their bike that original besides me? Let me fire you up here just a sec. It's cold as cold. Cold as cold. Well, it's 60 degrees out here right now, right? Yeah, 60 degrees, 6 p.m. Let me sit down. No choke. Oh, giggity. Boy, it's a quiet bike. It's been a long time since I've had something this quiet. The horn works. Turn signals. The high beam actually works. Who does that? The high beam indicator. I haven't even put the new plug in. This is still the old plug. I just cleaned it and stuffed it back in because it came with a box of goodies, right? I just threw all the tune-up gear in there because I didn't really care. And then I look at it later and I realize what happened. So I have changed the oil and it does have fresh oil filter. I do have to change the plug, but I want to pull the tank off and do a deep clean of the frame and everything because I'm silly like that. So this is the box of goodies it came with. I do have a license plate. You don't need to see that. This is that oil thing. I think I'm going to just clean up the chrome, paint this black screen black, leave it be. Cap head screws are all in there, captured in some old crusty tape. These are the passenger pegs, foot pegs. Again, the bolts are all in here. It's got some levers, some new levers. These are for the foot pegs. Got some funky little reflectors, which I'm not going to use. The next project, I'm going to roll with this for a minute. We'll see how long I keep it. I do want to pull the handlebars, strip and paint them, throw them in the bead blaster and paint them because I don't like looking at funky rusty stuff. I'm going to pull this rear rack, bead blast it, paint it, probably paint it black. I'm not a big fan of this kind of gold color. Probably do that black, and while I'm there, you know, I'll paint these. Just like this has been scuffed up a bit, but you know, I'm gonna smooth that out a little bit. That epoxy, it's sandable. Spray it black. Oh yeah. Woohoo! Alright. Alright, enough of this. This is the new project. Thanks for watching. Gotta go, gotta run.